My name's Melissa Gomes, and I am a recreational therapist. Now, you might be wondering, what is recreational therapy? And I don't blame you. Anytime I tell people that I'm a recreational therapist, I often get the question of, what is that? Can you explain what recreational therapy is? Or, I've never heard that. And I did not know what recreational therapy was until I went to college. And when I first went to college, I had the expectation of trying to become a physical therapist. So my undergrad was exercise science. And then I realized I did not like chemistry. So when I went to my academic advisor and decided to change, I was told about recreational therapy. So what is that? Recreational therapy is a holistic view of therapy where we use activities as our modalities, as our interventions. So what can that look like? Well, it kind of depends on the setting. So I like to break it down into 3 categories. So there's a community-based setting, a psych setting, and a neurological rehab setting that you'll typically find a recreational therapist. So what's community setting look like? I like to think of community setting as adapted sports. So think of Paralympics, Special Olympics, think summer camp, think, working with elderly. So that could be in a nursing home. Think activities director, that's community setting. Then we have a psych setting. So I like to think of those as behavioral health hospitals. That's where you're going to work with people with different mental disabilities, mental health struggles. So that population can look very different too. So you might be looking at someone that's working with someone who is schizophrenic, someone with bipolar, schizoaffective, multiple personality disorder, borderline personality disorder. You might be working in detox. So you could be working with those that struggle with alcoholism, drug addictions. You can also find rec therapists in correctional facilities. So working with felonies, working with, people that have been incarcerated. And then you also have neurological rehab. So that's going to be someone that has an illness, that has some form of physical limitation, and we're going to try and rehabilitate them through different activities. So how can that look? Think of someone who might have had a spinal cord injury and they have to relearn how to do things. And, a lot of times when you have a spinal cord injury, you have to get your hand function back. So we might be playing board games with you to kind of have therapy in a fun way, but you're using those board games to work on those little finger muscles, work on those different abilities, right? So I'm making this video because a lot of people don't know what recreational therapy is and how it can benefit you. So I mentioned all the different settings that you might see a recreational therapist in. However, I do believe that recreational therapy is for everyone of all statuses, economic status, social status, abilities, whether physical, intellectual, and we should all be using it in our daily lives. So for me, my recreational therapy that I do for myself, we can consider those our hobbies, right? Our leisure that we enjoy. Something I love doing is I love singing. So I love going and singing karaoke. I love enjoying the outside. So for me, that might look like going fishing or off-roading maybe, riding my bike outside, going for hikes. I enjoy going to the gym. I enjoy coloring and painting. A lot of times as we get older, we forget to do the things that we enjoyed as a kid or that we enjoyed in high school. We forget to do those things. An example of this is, growing up, I played a lot of sports. I did a lot of sports. One of my main 2 sports I did was cycling. I went to college for cycling, and swimming. Those were like 2 major ones. I also did some others. And I also competed in pageants. And those were things that I really identified with. Those things gave me a purpose and made me feel good, right? And then when I went to college, I, kind of didn't do everything. I went to school for cycling, but in my freshman year, we had COVID. And so cycling wasn't really happening as much. So during that time, I really had a loss of self. And, when you're not feeling like yourself, that can lead to what? It can lead to anxiety. It can lead to depression, which are also things that a recreational therapist might deal with, right? And we just forget that we have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of ourselves emotionally, mentally, and physically. And those are all things that can be done through activities, okay? Another thing is, what might a recreational therapist do with a client, right? And I mentioned neurological rehab and how, we might work with someone that has a spinal cord injury and play games to kind of help them get some mobility back, right? Work on those fine motor skills with their hands, right? Well, I currently work in a psych setting. So during my internship, I worked at an adaptive gym. So I was on the community side of things. In that community side of things, when I worked at adaptive gym, the things that I did were adapted sports. So I worked with a wheelchair rugby team. I helped put on tournaments. We did blind goal ball, which is really cool to see. Wheelchair rugby, wheelchair basketball. I was a big part of helping lead our hand cycle rides. So those who might not have leg function but have some arm function can do, those pedaling bikes with their hands, right? And also other different things that you can do. Because it's not just sports-based, it's also just going out in our community and doing things. In a psych setting, what might that look like? So for me, one of the different interventions that I do in a psych setting is music therapy, art therapy, social therapy. So how do we interact in social groups? How can we work as a team? How can we interact with people, right? So we might play games that teach them how to interact with other people. Do a lot of arts and crafts. We do a lot of mindfulness. So mindfulness might look like different drawings that we do that can kind of help us. That might look like meditating or yoga. I might teach a client or a patient how to massage their body to kind of release tension, right? Talk about different ways to be mindful and how we can live a mindful life so that way we're connected to our body. Yeah, that's what recreational therapy is. And I think that we should all get out there, do some rec in our life, make sure that we're taking care of ourselves, make sure that we're, testing our minds, making sure we're checking in on ourselves emotionally, and making sure that we're trying to be the healthiest that we can be, because recreation and leisure is for everyone, and we should all get out there and enjoy it. And I hope I taught you a little bit about what recreational therapy might be.